Good day, everyone. What is going on today? May the 4th, 2026, Monday. Well, had another wild-ass dream last night. Not sure what the hell it was all about. Got another idea, but, you know. It's usually the way it goes. Come sit down back outside here again this morning. Oh, shoot. Maybe talk about this a little bit. Oh, my sunshine right in my face this morning. Oh, so. Maybe I won't sit and face the sun. Anyway. That was another wild night in dreamland, dream time. So, just curious what the hell it might have all been about. You know? Let's see if I can invite some people in here this morning. And maybe talk about this a little bit. Get you guys' opinions or thoughts on it. I know most of you are probably at work right now, since it won't let me invite too often many people. Some of you may not be active. Oh, there we go. And anyway, pop a few more buttons here and see if I can get some people in here. Maybe help me decipher this dream. So anyway, it's definitely a Monday, moon day. Waning gibbous moon today. I haven't looked to see where it's at. What's after Scorpio? Sag, maybe even into Capricorn by now. The full moon in Scorpio was Friday, so we may still be in Sagittarius today. I don't know. That would make sense considering I was at the firehouse again last night. In the out-of-body experience. It was one of those that was, again, very, very surreal, very visceral, very lucid, and as soon as I really asked the question, what the fuck am I doing here? Popped back out, back into this body. But I went back there twice. Went back to that place twice. Back to the firehouse twice last night. For whatever reason. I've studied Jungian philosophy and psychology quite a bit over the last several years, trying to figure out what my subconscious and unconscious and the wounds are and all this and that. Anyway, so a few days ago, one of the guys I was on the job with, who just recently retired, sent me a picture of he and I sitting on the rear end on the tailboard of one of the fire engines, and we're in our turnout gear. It must have been a training day, or we could have been on the scene at a fire. But I was thinking about that picture a little bit last night before I went to bed. And so it didn't take long for me to kick out of body. Some nights it takes a little bit to shut this brain off and get it to quiet enough to where my body will actually shut down and go to sleep. But last night wasn't one of those. Some nights it's really quick. Last night it was fairly quick. Other nights it takes a while. But as I said, I was thinking about that picture and sort of that moment in time when that picture was taken and I was on the job. And so I come to out of body and I'm back at the firehouse, but it's like it seemed like I was in this body, this almost 50-year-old body. I'll turn 50 on Wednesday. Seemed like I was in this body, in this form, this age. And stop. Come on. Really? And so anyway, I come back to the firehouse like it was after the surgery, and I was going to go back on the job, back on duty, and I come in and I'm reporting for duty and go to my turnout locker to get all my turnouts, and the only thing there were my boots, my pants, my helmet, gloves, an SCBA mask. And it wasn't even the same mask. It was a different style mask, and it didn't make sense to me the way this mask was designed. Instead of hooking the oxygen up down low or hooking the air supply up down low, it was like it hooked right in front of my face, which really limited visibility. And so I'm looking for my turnout coat and I can't find it, and the firehouse is busy. There's people everywhere. There are men and women everywhere, firefighters everywhere. And it was never like that when I was on the job. There was usually, most of the time, 2 of us on duty, sometimes 3. Very rarely would we have 4. But I'm hunting for my turnout coat, and I can't find it, so I go and ask one of the guys, captain on duty, who I assume is still on the job there, a person that I recognized, the only person that I recognized in the firehouse. And we're looking around. He doesn't have a good answer as to why we can't find my coat. Thinking maybe one of the rookies, it's been given to a rookie or something, because I'd been off the job for so long. And it was just very, very strange. I don't know why I was back there. I really don't. And so I'm standing there with my boots in my hand. I've got my helmet on, and boots in one hand, gloves in the other. And I'm just looking around like, wait a minute, what the hell am I doing here? And it's like, as soon as I ask that question, boom, I'm back out and back in this body again. And I rip my sleep mask off my face, and I just like look around the bedroom to make sure I'm back in my bed. Just very still sort of physically feeling it and just reeling in my mind, like, what the hell was that about? And so I try to put it out of my mind, try to let it go, try to not question what I just experienced, what just happened, and drift back off to sleep, and boom, I'm right back there again. This time I'm more in the front offices, and this time Tasha's with me, and it's like she's working there. It was strange. It was like a combination of her office and the administrative offices at the firehouse. Again, lots of people, you know, in this conference room area, and I'm just sort of observing and watching the people moving about and trying to tune into what they're talking about. And again, wondering, why am I here? Why am I here? Why am I back? Why am I back in the firehouse again? Why am I back in the firehouse again? And I look down and I notice I'm standing there just like I was whenever I kicked back out of body and come back here, kicked out of the OBE and came back into this body with my boots in my hand. I can still feel the weight and the pressure around my head with having my helmet on my head. And it's like, I don't know. I guess I moved from the apparatus bay into the administrative offices to maybe ask about my turnouts. And it's like nobody's noticing me. Nobody's answering me. And so I leave the administrative office areas and walk back towards the bunk rooms and towards the locker room, and go to my locker and open locker 13, which is the one I had, and open it up, and it's empty. And again, I'm turning around in circles, just looking at everything, like wondering again, why am I here? What the hell is going on? And back into this body again, wake back up. And so, again, pull the sleep mask off, and this time I sort of sat up in bed and was just sweating a little bit, and just sort of reeling, trying to figure it out. Like, what the hell was that all about? And then, you know, I was like, okay, just let it go, just, you know, put it out of your mind. Everything happens for a reason. We'll figure it out in the morning. And anyway, so here I am trying to process and figure it out, wondering why over the last, I don't know, several weeks I've had multiple, and I do mean multiple, dreamtime experiences or out-of-body experiences in the astral, where I'm either on the job, in the fire truck, in the firehouse, back in the same town or my childhood town, in the fire apparatus, you know, in turnout gear, doing those things. And I just don't get it. I just don't understand, unless it's trying to remind me that I'm not that anymore. I'm not that person anymore. I'm not supposed to be the rescuer or the hero anymore. That was just part of my hero's journey. To get me to this point, so I would have that experience and understand all of that, what it means to be of service, what it means to be selfless, what it means to be fearless, what it means to be part of something bigger, working for a common goal or a common cause. I really don't know. I really don't know. But I feel sort of some of the symbolism about me not having all of my gear, not having all of the equipment is trying to tell me something. One, having the wrong style SCBA mask where I can't see. Two, not having the coat, so sort of feeling vulnerable and not protected. I don't know. I really don't know. I'm trying to figure it out. But it's again, trying to understand symbolism and synchronicity and all this stuff, and I've said to people that I've worked with and mentored or taught or guided spiritually over the last several years that when dealing with your past traumas and stuff like that and releasing that stuff, that it doesn't matter who you were, it matters who you are right now and who you're becoming. And so, taking my own advice, I sort of feel like that's what that's trying to tell me, that you're not that person anymore. You need to let that go. You need to remember the lessons, which is being of service, being fearless, courageous, working for the greater good of the whole, working within a team. Because even though when I was there on the job, I never really felt like I was part of the brotherhood, right? Mainly because of my gifts of being able to hear deeper into the words, being able to see deeper into the people that I was working with and working on. Spirit always being around, and the clairaudience constantly talking, again, seeing deeper, hearing deeper, and just sort of, I don't know, maybe it was me isolating myself, maybe it was me protecting myself, and so here I am now on the cusp of another big turning point in my life. I've got some things coming up tomorrow, and then again my birthday on Wednesday, that I'm very hopeful will propel me forward into this next evolutionary step that I'm on, and into who I feel like I've always been, or who I'm becoming, or who I'm, I don't know, who the higher self is pulling me toward. Right? You guys have heard me talk about cause and effect, and I see it more as effect over initiating the cause, right? Like your future self, the end point, right? The soul self pulling you through all these different experiences to achieve a certain effect, a certain outcome. Or lesson, right? Growth pattern, whatever you want to call it. And so it was again another one of those very, very surreal, very lucid, what you want to call quote unquote dreams, because in my opinion, in my experience, this physical waking world, this conscious world is the dream, because I see us as always being in spirit. And this just being sort of that limited experience of being separated from source, from spirit, purely for growth and to learn. So spirit, source, God, creator, whatever you want to call it, experiencing itself and what it means to be separate from itself, or to forget who it is, and then have to go through all the lessons to remember who it is. Well, I remember now. I'm just trying to understand why I keep having these out-of-body experiences, these astral experiences, where I'm on other timelines, I guess you could say. And maybe that's what that was. It was sort of me going to an alternate timeline where I actually did go back on the job after the surgery. And to see that it wouldn't have worked out, that I'm right where I'm supposed to be. Which, after all of my study and all of my experience over the last 12 years this year in November, since I've been off the job, all that exploration and introspection and study of the self, and trying to figure myself out, and trying to figure out who I am and what it is I want and why I'm here, and all that, to sort of show me that I'm right where I'm supposed to be, and that I need to remember the lesson, right? Remember what I got out of it. Remember the gifts that I got out of it. I.e., being able to challenge my fear, being able to overcome my fear, understanding that fear is an illusion, but danger is real, and learning how to actually mitigate danger, to decrease the risk to life and limb. To remind me that while yes, I do work well in groups, and I'm supposed to work within groups, I don't think it's meant to be permanent, right? Permanent part of any one group. I felt like a loner my whole life, like I've always been trying to fit in and find where my puzzle piece fits within the group, and it's never quite fit. And so maybe my piece doesn't fit in that puzzle, and I'm here to start a new puzzle. Who knows? I'm here to be part of a different puzzle. And again, I've always been very forward thinking, introspective and retrospective at times, but always thinking about what's ahead, further down the line. Where's this going? What's this about? So, I don't know. I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts on what you think about that. Why you think I may keep popping back into that life, or blends of that old life that I lived as a firefighter on the job. And then, after I showered this morning and everything, and got my coffee and sat down and finally picked up my phone and opened social media and scrolling, you get these sort of messages about the day and everything, and the first one on my page, on my feed, was talking about me being here to stay grounded, to stay rooted, to be a lighthouse, to anchor the grid, and I've used that analogy multiple times. So again, I see that as somewhat synchronicity, as you're not here to be the hero, to be the rescuer anymore, to be anybody's savior, so to speak. You're here to just hold the frequency, to anchor the light, the loving frequency of unconditional love, of source, into this grid, and just share it, beam it out, just essentially hold it and radiate it. And then that took me back to a conversation I had with some older ladies at the diner a couple weeks ago, week and a half or so ago. and it was an interesting conversation. It was theology and philosophy and those kinds of things. And the conversation initially started because I was sitting at the counter, and of course all the girls there know me because I'm super friendly, and so they're asking me questions, and I'm giving them answers, and we're talking about astrology and different charts and different aspects within the natal chart and this and that and the other, and just sort of doing what I do naturally. And so these ladies asked me, what is it about you that's got all these women buzzing around you? Like, what is it? Who is it? What's your deal? And I'm like, honestly, I don't know. I really don't know. It's been that way my whole life. I've always had more female friends than male friends. I've always been closer to women than men. And again, me not quite fitting in and being part of the brotherhood in the firehouse. I think that may have to do with some childhood trauma and childhood wounds. But it's just always been that way. Even here on this platform, I have far more female followers than male followers. It's like 60-40 women, which is nuts to me. And so I don't know, I just wanted to talk a little bit about that and process that a little bit, because like I said, it was very, very surreal, very lucid, just wild. And again, it felt like I was sort of in my 50-year-old body, going back to when I was in a 38-year-old body, going back to the time when I was 38, and it was just very strange. And I don't know what it was truly about, other than just reminding me that I'm not that anymore, and that I'm not here to be that anymore. You're here to simply just hold the light, to be the lighthouse, and literally sort of guide others and keep them from crashing on the rocks, to shine a light on them and help them to see themselves, because that's really what it is that I do and what I do best. Is help others see themselves and see their gifts, and to see past or deeper into the lessons that they've lived, and help them understand that. So I don't know. Anyway, that's just my thoughts this morning. Again, it was just a very, very wild dream. Very wild, very surreal, but very, very real, very visceral. Because again, when I came back in body, I sweating. It still felt like I had the helmet on my head. My hand was still gripped tight, like I was holding my boots, holding my turnouts. And again, just reeling from the experience, trying to figure out what the hell was that, why was I there. Only one familiar face in each of the experiences, one being Tasha, but it's like she didn't recognize me. So I don't know. I really don't know. It's very strange. Again, I appreciate your thoughts on it, but no big deal. So anyway, that's it for me today, May 4. Also, I did hear when I got out of the shower, because I was still questioning some of this, that the force is with you, Matthew. No worries. Use the force because you have it. And you need to own it. So, anyway, thank you for watching this. I appreciate you. Those of you that join me live and those that are going to watch the playback. If you have any ideas, please drop a comment. Let me know what your thoughts are on that and what that may mean. Of course, there's lots of symbolism in there. Not having all my gear, not being, I feel like is not having sort of symbolically maybe me feeling like I don't have everything I need to go forward in this next phase of my life, but maybe I'm not supposed to. Maybe I'm supposed to find it on the way. So, anyway, that's it for me this morning. Just a few thoughts on the weird, wild Dreamtime experience. What the fuck was that about? So, just another Monday in Matthew's world. Anyway, much love to you today. May the Force be with you today, here on May 4th, Star Wars Day. Be the light. Be the light. Be a star walker. Be a star walker. Right? So, anyway, till Friday, 8 a.m. Central Standard Time for my regular edition of the Oracle. That's it for me. Maybe I'll check back in sometime between then, but who knows? I don't. I'm just here, one day at a time, one moment at a time, trying to bring myself back into this present moment, right? So, anyway, stay present, stay in the light, be love, all that stuff. You know the drill. Till Friday. Love you guys. Be well.